how many times have you made a pull request and thought that the work was down once it got merged? So I used to think the same. For a long time, I believed that open source was just about writing clean codes, submit pull requests, and waiting for approval. But that more I got involved in really projects, the more I realized something important. Uh, the pull request is not the end of the journey. It's actually where the really learning begins. Behind of every pull request, there is something deeper happening. How many do you communicate your ideas to strangers on the internet? How do you handle feedback you didn't expect? How do you navigate code base you have never seen before? And how do you build trust without even ever meeting people in real life? So these are not just coding skills, they are engineering, communication, and collaboration skills that shape your career. So, and today we are going to explore exactly that. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to this session of Open Source Kigali. So, my name is Didas Mbarushimana. I'm a software engineer and lead and organizer of Open Source Kigali, React.js Rwanda, and Django Rwanda. So, I'm really excited to have you today and to have Kendi J in this session. So Kendi J will tell us more about beyond the pull request, the skills open source teach beyond the code. So Kendi J, thank you so much for your time and to come to this session. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Didas. That was such an amazing introduction and also a very interesting way to begin the conversation. I'm also very much excited to be here. I look forward to learning from the the open source Kigali community. It's been an amazing community, and I can't wait to learn from you as well as share some of the things that I currently know. My name is Kendi. I am also a software engineer. I've been writing mobile applications using the Flutter framework. And right now, I decided to try a new PR and learn about machine learning. And I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in data science here in Budapest. I'm very excited about this session, and I hope we get to learn. I would love to hear the interaction or questions or any nodding or saying, oh my God, I agree with this. However, since we are not able to speak in person, then I'll just share what I know and then we will connect from there. If you wish to connect with me on any social platform, this is always my name. So, beyond the PR, beyond the pull request, what exactly are we talking about here? So here we are basically talking about the moment where you decide you want to contribute to an open source project. Maybe you saw a typo, maybe you saw a feature that you want to include in this particular project, and you decide to create a pull request. So sometimes it is very fun to contribute to open source, yeah. But then there is the myth of the finish line, like, oh, I just want to like contribute to this and then that's it, or have my GitHub profile have the green mark. But hitting the submit on a pull request feel like the finish line, but it's actually the start of the line, because the moment you contribute to that PR, that is where you're giving the whole world, the whole internet, a chance to explore your mind to see what exactly was this engineer trying to like think, what were they trying to solve, what were they trying to like contribute. And you see it like the moment you hit the PR, the submit button, so that then people are able now to like understand your mind. They're able to like know, oh wow, this is the changes that this software engineer wanted to change. Maybe they wanted to center a div, but you get. And then every maintainer already knows your struggles are universal, so it's not really personal. So of course, whenever you try to like change something, like it's honestly not easy because you're between so many things. You're trying to like be like, is whatever I'm changing okay? Maybe you're struggling with imposter syndrome or something. So every maintainer already knows. So the struggle is not personal. And the nugget of wisdom that I have about it is open source isn't just free labor for green path, it's a sandbox for senior level engineering skills. So whenever you contribute, always hype yourself up and be like, yes, I'm now a senior software engineer contributing. Okay. And then we have the art of code spelunking. So here, I'm a very high believer of every engineer is a very curious mind. You're always exploring. You're always curious. You always dig into holes and wanting to know what does this do? What does this feature do? If I change here, what's gonna happen? If I implement this, what's gonna change? You know? And that's the beauty of software engineering. That's the amazing thing about being a software engineer, the curiosity, the wanting to know why, what, where, how can I solve it? And then here's an amazing, interesting thing. The more we read, then we write. And by reading and writing, I'm referring to code, obviously. So engineers, they read code 10 times more than they write it, because they want to like understand, okay, so what exactly am I doing here in this particular code? What does this particular code actually do? And this is where the critical skills is forged. So the more you get to understand, oh, I'm calling this function because it's been implemented here and because I need it here, or I'm writing this architecture like this because of 1, 2, 3. So this is the art of reading and writing, and then you're able now to like make the changes because you can read the code, and the more you read it, the more you're able to make the changes, and then you contribute as a pull request. And then we have this thing of tracing and not memorizing. So here, this is where we jump into the unfamiliar code base. So meaning we're mapping and executing like paths that we've never been before. For example, you're learning, maybe you're good at React JS, and you're learning a different language, and now you want to see how do I solve this based off of the knowledge that I already know of React. And here you're not actually memorizing, now you're trying to like tracing back and being like, okay, let me see how this is how it works. Maybe this is how the React people structure their code base, but how do Golang people structure theirs? So you get to learn, like you're tracing your paths back for you to like understand exactly where can I change. And then you see it's already coupled with reading and writing. Okay, and then to the third curiosity is the transferable skills. So here, this is where the paradigm shifts, and then we experiences things like that prove that we are able to navigate ambiguity. We are able to like navigate these different paths, and the fact that we are able to navigate through them, we are able to like understand this particular code base, then we're able to like learn more steps and actually know how we will be able to contribute to this open source. And again, a dash of nugget of knowledge is a great engineer doesn't memorize code bases, they master finding the signal in the noise. And that is how we are able to contribute to the open source. Okay, what about writing and engineering? So in this case, we have two sets of pads. We are writing for machines and for the human. Okay, and this is how I broke it down. So, in case if we are doing it for the machine, so here means that the code solves the problem purely for the machine execution. Um, I had an interesting joke about the regex. I don't know if anyone has ever used regex, or if I don't know if it's pronounced regex or regex, the one for reading emails. Um, but yeah, um, do we actually ever understand that? What is all the gibberish that happens there? And I think that's a good example because that is the work for the machine to understand. We are writing an email, like this particular feature is specifically for emails. Okay, a diff shows exactly what changed in the code base. So here is where we have like the code base literally telling you, oh, this is what was changed at this particular time, and these are all, like it's tracing the line of changes that was done, that was executed by you and from the machine, so it's able to like understand that. And then the machine does not require context to execute uh, valid syntax. So it doesn't really require context because it's already understanding what we've already written down here. Okay, and then now let's come to the human side. So we have the communication, and whenever you're contributing to open source, I think contribution is a very important key, because then if you're not able to communicate what you're trying to change or a feature that you're trying to implement, then how will people know? How will whoever the maintainer is gonna check your PR? How will they know what you're trying to change or to implement? Okay, and then only your PR description explains why change exists, and this is it's still coupled to communication, but then it's where we are writing the PR, the description of what you actually changed. If you try to like change the button from yellow to green, then in your PR you need to like clearly communicate that this is what I changed, this is why, maybe, or even on the code base, then you're able to like write the comments so that the person that will be checking your PR will be able to know, oh, this is why this particular code or this particular feature was implemented. Okay, and this is another point is in the AI and this vibe coding era. If you can't explain why the AI generated code is correct, you haven't reviewed it, you've just forwarded it. I found this pretty interesting because it's very important to not forget that we are in a changing direction currently. Um, if you're trying to contribute to open source, obviously you really need to understand exactly what you're trying to change. You need to tell people, this is what I'm implementing, this is the feature I'm writing, this is why I'm changing it. Your communication has to be very clear. But now the problem is, if you're writing if it's an AI generated code, even if it's AI generated code, which honestly is okay, but then you need to explain, you need to be able to understand and to explain that this code is actually correct. Does it pass the test if there are any tests written? Does it comply with the linting rules if there are any linting rules written on the code base? Does it follow maybe the clean code architecture that maybe they are trying to implement? Like, is it something that is understandable for the maintainer, for the person that will be coming later to check this code base or to maintain or to even manage PI? So another nugget of wisdom is, if a maintainer has to guess why you wrote something, then your contribution is basically incomplete. Okay. Sorry. Okay. let's continue. So we have the empathy loop. Uh, Remember, it's human being who are writing this code. Remember, it's human being who are writing this code, and it's also human being who will be maintaining this code base. So why do we have the empathy loop? Number one, code review happens in public. So you really have to learn how to detach your ego from your code as early as possible, because open source will actually force you to do it. If you get so attached to, for example, let me give you practical example with uh, a framework like Flutter. In Flutter, we have this debate that never ends when it comes to which state management is the best. So somebody will say block is the best, somebody will say riverport is the best, somebody will say another one is okay, is the best. But then if you're contributing to an open source project and then you implement your code base using block, and then maybe somebody else contributes and they're using like maybe provider, then you see that there's gonna be a conflict there. So you have to learn, to learn to detach from your ego and try to like be accommodative of what works. Probably block works because the project is so big, or maybe riverpod is the best because it's not too complex of an application. So code review happens in public, you have to remember that, and you detach your ego from that completely. Another thing is maintainers are often unpaid or overwhelmed volunteers who are reading your PR probably late nights, and they're trying it. A very good example, and maybe did as you tell me this, you know this is, for example, what we're doing here. We are talking in a community. Nobody is paying you to do anything. You're doing it out of your own goodwill because you actually enjoy it. But then you if somebody is trying to contribute to that, then at least they have to have the empathy. They have to be empathetic enough to understand that the person who will be reviewing this is a human being. So you actually need to like follow the rules and be humanly enough, respect and all those things. Okay. Another point is asynchronous empathy is a superpower. So you need to remember that a critique of the logic is usually not equal to a critique of the coder. So in this I found very interesting because sometimes you might have like a different way you solve your own things, and somebody has a different way that they solve their own things. Again, it's more of the public thing. So if somebody critiques your work, it's actually okay, it's fine, but you have to learn, you have to like be accommodative and be like open to learn and be like, but why did they contribute, but why did they criticize? And then from that criticism, then you're able to like learn like different ways of how to go about logic, and maybe handling your errors on such things. So again, this is feedback, and you don't forget the humanly, the empathetic side of things as well, even though we are working on code bases and even though we are working in public. Another nugget of wisdom that I thought of sharing is feedback is a feature. It's not a bug. So it's the human compiler catching your logic errors before production. And feedback are always good. We need feedback to understand if we are growing or not. I believe feedback is always like a very good tool to help us learn as well. Because again, if you're contributing to open source, it's number one way of learning. And like we said earlier, The moment you hit the submit button, then you're opening a whole paradigm of learning, a whole universe of things that you probably never knew. And feedback is one of them, criticism is one of them, your PR getting merged is one of them, your PR getting rejected is also one of them, and there's so many other things that you get to learn through contributing to open source. Okay, what about the currency of the community? This is very nice. When communities are spoken about, so we get to learn a lot of things. Number one, trust isn't built by dropping like 10,000 lines of PR out of nowhere. It's built by extreme consistency on small helpful merge at a time. So you cannot see an open source project and decide to like drop in like 1,000 plus code bases. That would be really hectic to even review. Even you, if you are a maintainer, I really don't think you would enjoy reviewing like 10,000 lines of code of a PR from one person. Like let them build like step by step, feature by feature. Be like, oh, I changed this, let me submit a PR. And sometimes you don't have to submit one PR. So you are sizable amount of numbers is okay, but not like a whole 10,000. That's too much to even review at a go. And then this is a personal proof of growing a community to over 1,000 members, shows how local meetup ripple outwards and then eventually turning into a global keynote invites. I think this is also what Didas is doing with the open source Kigali community, because he's built it and more speakers are coming to contribute their knowledge and all. And the community is growing, the community is getting recognized, the community is getting known. We are getting to interact with each other, and I think that's the currency of community. So if I see, for example, if I see a PR from Didas, I'll know, oh, I know Didas is from Kigali. I know his work. I would really love to see what he's trying to like change and such things. So, how now that's the currency of community. If any of you from who are listening to me sees my PR, they'll be like, oh, I know Kendi. Okay, then I see what she's trying to like change and all. This is good. Maybe this is not good. Maybe this is where she can change. And then, we're able to contribute to the PR through the community, because now we've built that currency of the community. And sometimes it's not necessarily that we know each other like that. Sometimes it's even through how frequent or how active somebody has been contributing to a particular PR, such that the maintainer is always aware of this particular person who's been contributing consistently. Another nugget of wisdom is maintainers, they usually don't merge code. They merge code from people they trust. So open source is a relationship business. Again, the reason why I say this is because if somebody dropped 10,000 of lines of code as a PR, I would be suspicious. I'd be like, what exactly, why are you like dropping like 10,000 lines of PR at once, But then if you drop like, maybe you have like 2 PRs, 5 PRs, maybe, depending on how big the project is, like what the small chunks of it, and I'm able to like review it and see, oh, this is what it changes, this is good, this is not good, then I'm able to build a relationship based off of that. But if somebody drops a very big PR, that would not even be merged. Okay, continuing. What are some of the non-negotiables? I believe in everything, there's always some non-negotiables. So you can have one PR, one purpose. Again, like I said, don't bundle a massive refactor with a new feature and a type of fix. I believe this is pretty open. You don't bundle a massive refactor with a new feature and a type of fix. I mean, that's pretty easy to like understand. And then read the manual. Whenever you're contributing to open source, I believe that most of them, they usually have a readme file where they say these are the rules, this is what you need to follow, your code should look like a certain way. By a certain way, I mean maybe they have the linting rules. The code has to pass through tests. So if you're implementing a feature, then it has to go through maybe a CI/CD pipeline and it has to pass. This is what we are currently using. Again, going back to the example that I gave about state management, if you're using a provider for state management, then you have to follow that as well. And so many other rules that come with contributing to open source. Another thing is sorry about that. Another thing is the size matters. Small PRs get merged, that giant PRs get ignored every single time. Trust me, I don't think I would want to like merge 10,000 lines of code of PR. But if it's a small chunk by chunk by chunk, and I'm able to like read again, because it gives clarity. If it's 10,000, there's no clarity there. That's a lot of things. But if it's chunk by chunk, you're able to read, you're able to understand this particular code and what it does and what is changing, then it's able to be merged. And also, if there are feedbacks to be given for correction and all, then it's easier to do that. It's not easy to do 10,000 lines of code as a PR, as a change. It's not even easy. It's not genuinely practical unless you are a computer. Okay. And then another thing is tests are not optional. So the thing is, tests, their proof of correctness, especially crucial when AI writes very beautiful looking code. So I'm a high believer of writing tests. It's important to know what's failing, what's not failing. If you're writing widgets or features, it's very important to have to write tests, because then it's able to like test your code basically. It's able to write your code, test your code, and so that you're not just publishing jargon stuff, or rather, I see the code generation usually writes so not, I don't know what they call it nowadays, but back then we used to call it spaghetti code. And then there is it's just too much. The junk is just too much and it's not doing anything. And this is why writing tests is very important. Another thing is never argue in a thread. Disagree, explain your review, then defer to a maintainer or take it to an issue. This thing of arguing in a thread is usually not even nice. Like, it's okay to like have different opinions. It's good because that's how we learn. But then when it comes to arguing, then it beats the whole logic of why you're contributing to the PR in the first place. Another thing is silence is usually not a rejection. So a bump after a respectful wait is fine. A bump after 2 days or not, or too long, sometimes isn't, depending on what you're contributing to and the importance of it. So Even if you get a rejection, that's still fine. But also, it depends. Honestly, I think it depends on what exactly you're contributing to. But I don't think that should be a reason why. I don't think that should discourage you from contributing to open source. Uh-huh. And then you have to own the output. Whatever you're pushing out there, always learn to own it, and own it with a lot of pride, because that is your work, that is your legacy, that is your footprint. Don't be scared to own it. Even if you use AI to help you write it, it's very okay, but always own it, because then you'll be like, okay, I wrote this thing, I changed here, I made this contribution, it got merged, that was my work. Own it. Okay, and as I am about to complete my talk, yeah, so this is my push to you, like about your next commit. So don't forget empathy plus communication plus trust. It's kind of a bridge to senior engineer to seniority. This is how I feel. That's according to me. You can always put it according to you, which is good. But yeah, don't forget it's people who are reviewing your code base. Also, don't forget the communication bit. Communication is very crucial, because if you're contributing to an open source project, it means that so many people will read your work years later, even after you probably forgot you contributed to that, or even after you forgot about that project. Communication is very good. It's very important. Don't forget that. And empathy also is very important, especially if you'll be reviewing somebody else's code. You need to like be empathetic enough to like give reviews and give reasons, and give feedback based on a particular PR that you've gotten. And also, even when you're being criticized, it's very good to like be empathetic with the way that you respond. And then, of course, trust is also very important, because let's say you're building like something to do with the money app, um, money API. I don't know if they write open source for anything transactional open source. But you get my point. I mean, you need to like contribute. Let's say you're contributing to a package, right? And this package has a way of reading. Of course, it can read your code. You're implementing it on your code base. So if it's a package that has a malicious link to it, then it means you're putting yourself into jeopardy or something. But anyway, you have to like build trust too, especially when you're merging PRs from strangers on the internet. And then you bridge yourself to the next level of engineering. I mean, that's how my brain is telling me. And yeah, another thing is you have to try and make a decision. So if you have been very active writing code, maybe you can challenge yourself and be like, today I want to try contributing to open source. And maybe you can even review a PR, because I understand that you can see issues that are there and try to see, oh, what was this person trying to change? Why were they changing this? The thing that we said about spelunking. So you try to see, okay, where can I chip in into this? You can even open a conversation when it's an open PR. You can also try to fix a README. This is usually the very first step of contributing to open source. I will tell you, when I first contributed to open source, my first change was changing a typo on a README file. I mean, I felt so proud because it was merged and I felt really good. So you can try that as the first thing. Go read the README, understand what is being told about this particular project. What can I change? What can I learn from it? What can I contribute on it? And yeah, you can try that at first, or even answer an open issue. Back in the days, we used to answer issues on Stack Overflow, but I don't know if it's still happening still, but you can try to answer an open issue um, on the PR. Whenever you're reviewing a PR too, you can try to like contribute to the conversation, and don't be shy, don't hold back. Sometimes whenever you do this, that's where you learn more. And yeah, this is a happy dog that's about uh, to get the ball, but because we are open source contributors, and this is us when our PR is about to be merged, because we made change, notable change. Okay, and here comes my last slide. Any questions from anyone?
All right. All right. So thank you so much, Kendi J. Can you hear me right?
Mhm.
All right. So thanks so much for this session. All right. So especially me, I have a question. Let me ask you a question because we are running after time, by the way. So I want to know like what is the most common mistakes you see new contributors make in open source, and what practical advice would you give them to avoid it?
Um, I think there are a couple of them
Mm.
that I can think of. Number one is getting too attached to what they already know. Getting too attached to what they already know, and not being open to criticism or change. You see, like somebody has just learned a different tool,
Mm.
they think that that's the correct one. So it's very difficult to hold a conversation with such a person, especially when you can see that they are still learning and there's so much that they need to like understand as an open source contributor. Um, Another thing that I can also think of is as a new contributor is, you know how we're using AI right now. So you find like there's no communication or proper explanation of exactly what you changed on a particular feature. So because again you let the AI change it for you, yes, you can see it maybe on the UI, or if you're a front end engineer, you can see it on the UI and you be like, oh wow, this works well. But then where was this function implemented? What did you change exactly? What changes did you make? Do you understand? Can you explain what you changed? So you see like the communication or even the understanding of what a contributor made is lacking in that sense. And I think that these are some of the things that I see from new contributors. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. So looking back at your open source journey, so what was the biggest lesson you learned that had nothing to do with codes, and how did it change the way you worked as an engineer today?
That's a
Yeah,
very nice question.
yeah, I know that's I didn't even it's just coming to me, and yeah, I just want to ask you because I'm sure that this is the kind of question that usually people have, you know.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story of when I first started learning Flutter,
Yeah.
and I first installed it on my Windows 7 HP. There was a lot of things happening, and I wasn't understanding why I'm not able to display an iOS simulator, and I'm already writing a Flutter code which has both Android and iOS. And I was always asking questions like, why is it that I'm not able to see this? Why is it that I'm not able to display an iOS device? Why am I not able to display iOS? I'm only able to display Android. And I kept asking that question over and over until somebody just responded to me, and they were like, because you're using Windows, you're not using a MacBook. So that's one of the lessons that I got to learn. I also got to learn that because I was still starting, especially even in tech at that particular time, I also got to learn that different operating systems have different um, command prompts. That is one thing I didn't know. So by asking on open source, I got to learn, oh, different operating system they actually work differently. I also got to learn that some I also got to learn that my questions are very important, because I found out that there's somebody else who was going through the same problems, and they didn't know how to ask, or rather they didn't have the courage to ask. So my question was also very important to them, because they're like, oh, okay, the reason why I got to learn this is because you asked this, and now I'm able to make the changes myself too. um yeah, and the lessons are very endless. And also meeting friends. Another funny thing is, I met a friend who saw my question in one of the tech events, and they're like, oh my god, I remember you because I remember you from a PR that you contributed to, a question that you contributed to on a PR. So I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's really good. Yeah.
And me, I remember you because you had a lot of talks, by the way. So, Kendi, many developers believe that getting a pull request merge is the goal, you know. And so, what should they do after their first merge pull request to build credibility, uh, grow their network, and create careers opportunities?
Number one is they celebrate, because can you imagine if you are contributing to Node.js? You told me you were writing Node.js.
No, okay. Me, for example, I used to contribute to React and Django.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for example, I'm active contributor to Django. You know,
Yeah.
even React I contributed just like 2 times only. It's been a
Mhm.
while, but for Django, even now I used to contribute to Django. So
Mm.
thank you.
Yeah. So can you imagine, this is a tool that's being used by millions and millions of people, right?
Yeah, sure,
And
sure.
then you have your PR, which has been merged, and not it's not only for you, it's for thousand, 10,000, million and millionaire people who are going to use this particular tool. It's genuinely a good feeling. And also, you don't keep quiet about it, because if you contribute to a PR, and then you don't tell people what you contributed, then how will people know what you're doing?
Yeah, and
So
you need to put it everywhere. Even on LinkedIn, you can talk about it. Even if it's documentation, yeah, it's very
yeah.
important. But
Now, tell people. In fact, introduce yourself. I'm Didas. I contributed to DjangoCon. It's
sure.
absolutely okay. And again, like in one of my slides, I also said, own it. It is your work. It is your legacy. Speak about it with pride. Even if you use AI to help you write it, own it. That's your work,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
and speak about it as well. Yeah.
So, okay, right. So, because like time is going fast, right? By the way, so what is the most common mistake you see new contributors make in open source, and also what practical advice you should give them so to avoid it.
I think we've already spoken about the common mistakes when it
Yeah, yeah,
comes,
yeah, sure.
yeah, when it comes to like getting too personal about what you contributed. Sometimes also not writing a prop or a clear explanation of what you wrote or what you contributed and the changes you made. Um, yeah, and sometimes if you don't follow, sorry, sometimes if you don't follow like the rules or the non-negotiable of that particular PR, obviously it's not going to be merged, your code base is not going to be merged, but then you find that some people get feel offended by that, which I don't think is really good. I mean, you need to like learn the art of accepting feedback and criticism, and because that's how you learn. And also, nobody wants to talk to somebody who's taking offense every other time or with every correction that they're given. So you need to like learn to even communicate with people.
Kendi J, it was a pleasure to have you on this session. My name is Didas Mbarushimana. I'm a software engineer, lead and organizer of Open Source Kigali, React.js Rwanda, and the Django Rwanda community. So, if you want to follow more what Kendi J building, you can follow her on LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Substack also. I see you're new on Substack actually, because I was watching what you did, like a last video on Substack,
Yeah,
where again you want people to join you, please.
yeah.
Where do you want again? Okay, LinkedIn, Substack. Where are you active exactly? So there is
Anywhere,
another social media.
yeah, anywhere really. LinkedIn is okay. Substack and also maybe Twitter.
All
That's
right.
that's where I'm always very active.
All right. So for questions, please join Kendi J on LinkedIn. Okay, so this program is supported by the means of ICT Rwanda, so the government of Rwanda, with the program of 1 million Rwandan coders. So thank you so much, guys, and it was a pleasure to have Kendi J in this session, and see you for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.